Let me ask you something. What would your life look like if your words had the power to shape your destiny? Because they do. See, too many people wake up and speak defeat before their feet even hit the floor. They say, I'm tired, I'm broke, I can't catch a break, and then they wonder why life keeps handing them exactly what they confessed. But what if I told you that everything changes when you change what you say to yourself? Speak these words to yourself daily, not just when you feel good, but especially when you don't. And watch what happens. I am chosen, not forgotten. These 6 words carry more power than most people realize. They aren't just motivational fluff. They are a declaration of identity, value, and divine assignment. To say I am chosen is to declare to yourself and the world that you're not here by coincidence, not moving aimlessly through life, and certainly not invisible. It means your life has been infused with meaning from the start, whether or not the world has recognized it yet. Many people walk through life feeling like background characters in their own story. They doubt their importance, diminish their voice, and settle for scraps of attention and significance, all because they've come to believe they were forgotten by life, by people, or even by God. But when you say, I am chosen, you flip the script. You stop seeing yourself as overlooked and start showing up like someone who's been handpicked for greatness. To be chosen means to be intentionally selected, set apart, and prepared for something others may not even see yet. And when you own that identity daily, you stop chasing after validation. You don't beg for approval or constantly worry about who is clapping for you because you know you already carry value. You begin to understand that your worth is not based on how many people follow you, support you, or applaud your journey. It's based on the truth that you were created on purpose, with purpose. When someone embraces being chosen, their posture changes. They walk with clarity. They make decisions with confidence. And they stop shrinking to fit in rooms they were born to lead in. You can feel the difference in someone who believes they've been chosen. They move with conviction, not confusion. They don't just hope things will work out, they expect it because they know the assignment on their life didn't come from people, it came from a higher calling. Here's what's powerful. Being chosen doesn't mean you won't be challenged. In fact, the chosen often face more resistance because what they carry threatens the status quo. But here's the difference. When you know you're chosen, you won't let the storm convince you to quit. You'll keep moving even when it's hard because you understand that purpose always comes with pressure. And pressure is not the enemy. It's often the confirmation that you're walking in something significant. Let me give you a short example to illustrate this. Picture a young woman named Tasha. She grew up in a small town, always feeling like she didn't quite fit in. She wasn't the most popular, not the most talented by the world's standards, and certainly not the one people expected to do anything big. At school, she was often overlooked for leadership positions. In her community, she was underestimated. But deep down, Tasha had a quiet belief, a voice within that said, there's more for you. Every day, even when no one else saw her potential, she chose to speak life over herself. I am chosen. I am not forgotten. There's something special inside me. And she kept showing up to work, to volunteer, to learn, to grow, all with the mindset of someone who knew she was created for more. Years later, Tasha launched a nonprofit that served thousands of underprivileged youth. The very kids who felt overlooked found hope because she refused to believe she was. When someone asked her in an interview how she stayed motivated, she said, I just kept reminding myself that even if no one claps for me, I was still called. I don't need to be famous to be chosen. That's the power of believing you're chosen. You no longer wait for the world's permission to live with purpose. You no longer see closed doors as rejection, but as redirection. and you start to see yourself the way your Creator sees you, full of potential, destined for impact, and equipped to rise. Saying, I am chosen is not about arrogance. It's not about thinking you're better than others. It's about refusing to believe the lie that your life doesn't matter. It's about silencing the insecurity that says you're behind, unworthy, or too late. You're not. You've just been prepared in private for what's about to be revealed in public. Speak it daily, not just with your mouth, but with your decisions. Carry yourself like you've been appointed to be here because you have. Your uniqueness is not a flaw, it's evidence of design. And when you truly believe you are chosen, your actions begin to reflect destiny, not desperation. So speak it again. I am chosen, not forgotten. Let those words become a daily reminder that you matter, that you're needed, and that your life is unfolding exactly the way it was supposed to, not by chance, but by calling. And watch how the world begins to respond differently. Everything I need is already inside me. That statement is more than a motivational quote. It's a truth that can completely rewire how you live, work, dream, and overcome. Most people walk through life thinking they need to get something from the outside before they can start. More money, more help, more credentials, more confidence, more connections. And so they wait. They delay, they hesitate, they shrink their goals down to the size of their self-doubt. But the truth is this, you are not missing anything. You are not waiting to be completed. You're not lacking. When you understand this, everything changes. You stop approaching life like a beggar, hoping for scraps of opportunity, and start living like someone carrying a treasure chest within. You stop comparing your gifts with someone else's highlight reel and start cultivating what you've already been given. Because the truth is, greatness is not something you chase. It's something you unlock. And the key is already inside of you. We already have the ideas, the creativity, the resilience, the wisdom, even if it's buried under fear, failure, or forgetfulness. Maybe no one has ever told you this, but you were born equipped. The assignment on your life came with the wiring necessary to fulfill it. You don't have to become someone else. You just have to become fully you. And that means trusting that your voice, your gifts, your presence are enough to make a difference. Now, just because you have what you need inside doesn't mean it will come out automatically. You've got to cultivate it. Diamonds don't shine without pressure. Seeds don't grow without breaking the soil. And potential doesn't produce anything without discipline. But it's already in you, which means your success is not a matter of waiting. It's a matter of waking up what's been sleeping inside. There's a story that illustrates this perfectly. A man named Eric grew up believing he wasn't smart enough. School didn't come easy for him. He wasn't athletic. He didn't come from money, and he never felt particularly gifted. People around him would tell him to be realistic, which usually meant playing it safe and aiming low. For years, he believed the lie that success was reserved for people who had more resources, more charisma, more connection. But one day, after hitting a low point, Eric heard a speaker say something that shifted his whole perspective. You are not empty, you are equipped. Everything you need to get started is already in you. That statement rattled him. He'd never thought of himself as having anything of value inside. But something in him stirred, a tiny spark of belief that maybe, just maybe, he didn't need to wait for someone else to open the door. Maybe he could build one himself. Eric started waking up early to read and study, not because someone told him to, but because he believed his mind was worth developing. He stopped looking for shortcuts and started mastering his craft, speaking. He practiced in the mirror, in his car, at empty churches, wherever he could. He took the tools he already had, his life experience, his pain, his voice, and refined them. And slowly opportunities began to show up, not because he begged for them, but because he became ready. Today, Eric is a nationally recognized speaker and mentor to thousands. The world didn't change around him until something changed within him. And all of it started with one truth: everything I need is already inside me. You see, this mindset doesn't make life easier, it makes you stronger. It doesn't mean you won't face challenges, it means you'll stop believing those challenges are bigger than you. You'll stop outsourcing your confidence. You'll stop waiting for perfect conditions. Instead, you'll move forward with boldness, knowing that growth is not about getting something new, it's about activating what's already there. This truth is also what keeps you grounded. When you realize you already have what you need, you stop trying to be someone you're not. You stop faking, you stop performing, you start walking in authenticity, and people are drawn to that. They trust people who are settled in themselves, who are not scrambling for identity or approval. And the more you speak this to yourself every single day, the more that internal power gets louder than external pressure. So speak it, not just when you feel strong, but especially when you feel weak. Speak it when you're tempted to compare. Speak it when you're nervous, uncertain, overwhelmed. Let this be your anchor. Everything I need is already inside me. Because it is. Your mind is sharper than you think. Your creativity runs deeper than you've tapped. Your spirit is more resilient than your past. And the next level of your life will not come from waiting, it will come from releasing what's already inside you. You are not empty, you are equipped. All that remains is for you to believe it, speak it, and watch it rise. My past does not define my future. These words carry more than just hope, they carry liberation. For many people, the weight of yesterday is heavier than the potential of tomorrow. They carry guilt, shame, regret, and fear like baggage strapped to their soul. And because of that, they stop themselves from dreaming, from starting over, from reaching higher. They believe the lie that who they were is all they'll ever be. But the truth is, your past is a chapter, not the whole story. It's a place of reference, not residence. You are not your mistakes. You are not your failures. You are not your trauma. You are not the things people did to you or the things you did in moments of pain, confusion, or weakness. You are not your worst decision. You are more. You are born with a future bigger than your failures, and your past has no authority to cancel what you were created to become, unless you let it. When you speak, my past does not define my future, you're not pretending your past doesn't exist. You're just choosing to stop giving it the final word. You're making a bold, conscious decision to break agreement with shame. You are saying, I may have been through it, but I am not stuck in it. That kind of mindset isn't just encouraging, it's transformative. Because once you stop identifying with your past, you begin unlocking the doors to a whole new level of freedom, opportunity, and self-worth. The reason this truth matters so much is because the enemy of your destiny is not just opposition, it's often memory. The things that replay in your mind late at night, the moments you wish you could undo, the pain you try to bury but still carry. And if you're not careful, those things can become internal chains, keeping you from showing up fully in the present or taking bold steps into the future. But when you declare that your past doesn't define you, you begin to cut those chains. You start to walk differently. You stop apologizing for taking up space. You stop seeing yourself as broken and start seeing yourself as becoming. Please understand, here's something you need to understand. The most powerful people are not the ones with the cleanest track records. They're the ones who refuse to let their past become their prison. Some of the world's greatest leaders, thinkers, and innovators were once considered failures, misfits, or even outcasts. But the moment they stopped letting their past be the judge of their future, they began to shift the course of history. I'll give you a short example. There was a man named Chris who spent most of his 20s in and out of jail, caught up in addiction, anger, and self-destruction. He burned bridges, disappointed his family, and believed he had ruined any chance at a meaningful life. People saw him as a lost cause, and for a while, so did he. But one day, sitting in a halfway house, he came across a phrase written on the wall: "Your past is not your potential." For some reason, those words hit him differently. For the first time in years, he allowed himself to believe that maybe his story wasn't over, that maybe, just maybe, he was more than his mistakes. From that moment on, Chris began the slow, painful, courageous work of rebuilding his life. He got clean, earned his GED, then a degree. He started volunteering at a local youth center, sharing his story not with shame, but with purpose. Eventually, he became a counselor and speaker, helping others break free from the same darkness he once thought would destroy him. Today, Chris is a husband, a father, and a mentor to hundreds. And it all started with the decision to stop letting his past define what was still possible. What changed? His story didn't change. His perspective did. And that's the power of this truth. When you believe your past does not define your future, you begin to take authority back. You start walking with purpose instead of regret. You stop hiding and start healing. You give yourself permission to grow, to evolve, to rise again. The beauty of grace is that it doesn't erase your past. It redeems it. It turns pain into purpose. It turns shame into strength. It turns scars into stories that liberate others. And you have that within you too. Your past may be part of your journey, but it is not the ceiling of your future. So speak it. Speak it until the shame loses its voice. Speak it until regret can no longer chain your decisions. Speak it until the fear of what I used to be no longer robs you of what I am becoming. Say it like a war cry if you have to. My past does not define my future. Not today, not ever. Because your future is not something to be feared. It's something to be claimed. And it starts the moment you believe you're still worthy of becoming everything you were created to be, no matter where you've been. I am wealthy in mind before I'm wealthy in money. This is not just a positive affirmation. It's a shift in identity. It's a declaration that wealth is first internal before it ever becomes external. Most people are waiting for money to show up before they start thinking like wealthy people. But the truth is, until your mindset changes, your bank account won't. You don't attract wealth by chance. You attract it by belief, by habits, by vision. True wealth starts with how you think, what you believe you deserve, and how you see yourself in the world. If your mind is full of lack, fear, and scarcity, even if money does come into your life, you won't keep it. You'll sabotage it. You'll mismanage it. You'll feel like you don't deserve it. Why? Because the outer reality always tries to match the inner identity. A person who sees themselves as poor, even if they win the lottery, will usually find a way to go broke again because their mind has not yet been trained for wealth. But someone who has cultivated a wealthy mind, even if they lose everything, will find a way to rise back up, because the real treasure isn't in what they have, it's in who they've become. To say I am wealthy in mind is to understand that wealth is not just about money, it's about mindset, relationships, time, health, purpose, and peace. A person with a wealthy mind knows how to find solutions instead of focusing on problems. They don't just see obstacles, they see opportunity in every challenge. They use their time wisely, protect their energy, and invest in things that multiply rather than drain. They are generous, strategic, and disciplined. These qualities attract wealth because they are the characteristics of someone who knows how to steward it. This mindset requires discipline. It means rejecting the narrative that says wealth is only for them, that you're not from the right background, or that success is too far out of reach. Those thoughts are chains, and if you don't break them, they will bind your future. Wealthy-minded people train their thoughts like athletes train their bodies, with repetition, with focus, and with resilience. They don't allow temporary circumstances to convince them of permanent limitations. This is not about pretending you're rich when you're broke. It's not about faking something. It's about choosing to think in ways that align with the version of you that already has the outcome. It's about acting like a person of value even before the world recognizes it. It's about walking into a room and knowing you belong there, not because of your clothes or your car, but because of your mindset. Because wealth flows to people who think abundantly, act responsibly, and lead with vision. Let me give you a short but powerful example. There was a young man named Jordan who grew up in a low-income neighborhood where most people struggled just to get by. He watched his parents work multiple jobs just to make ends meet. By the time he was a teenager, Jordan had adopted the same mindset. People like us don't get ahead, just survive. But one day, a mentor gave him a book about mindset and money. At first, he dismissed it. It felt unrealistic. But something inside him told him to keep reading. The more he read, the more he realized that the wealthiest people in the world didn't all start with money. They started with a certain way of thinking. Jordan decided to make a radical change. Even though he had very little, he started treating his time, habits, and energy like a wealthy person would. He set goals, studied finance, learned to invest small amounts, and most importantly, he changed the way he saw himself. He stopped saying, "I'm broke," and started saying, "I'm learning how to manage wealth." That shift in language changed how he acted, and how he acted changed what he attracted. Within 5 years, Jordan launched a small business, invested in real estate, and became financially independent. He didn't wait to become rich to think richly. He thought richly, and that mindset brought wealth into alignment with his life. The point is not that thinking alone creates money. The point is that your thinking determines your capacity to attract, receive, and manage what comes your way. If your mind isn't ready, even blessings can become burdens. But if your mind is ready, you can turn small seeds into massive harvests. Every day, speak this over yourself. I am wealthy in mind before I'm wealthy in money. Say it until you believe it. Say it until your decisions reflect it. Say it until your habits align with it. Because the person who can think wealth, even in scarcity, will never stay in scarcity. And the person who waits for money before they develop the mindset will always find themselves starting over. Wealth is a mindset before it's a number. It is a decision to walk in purpose, to steward what you have, and to grow into someone who is prepared for more. So speak it, own it, live it, and watch how your life rises to match the level of your belief. Operate in excellence, not excuses. These words aren't just an affirmation, they're a contract, a personal agreement that says, I will not live beneath my potential. I will not settle for mediocrity. I will not look for reasons to justify why I didn't give my best. I will show up with intention, deliver with integrity, and hold myself accountable even when nobody else is watching. That's what excellence demands. And the truth is, in life, you don't get what you want, you get what you're willing to work for with discipline. Dreams are not built in inspiration, they're built in execution. And execution happens when you silence excuses and commit to excellence. Excellence isn't about being perfect, it's about being committed. It's about taking whatever's in your hand and doing the best you can with it, even if it's not ideal. People who operate in excellence don't wait for perfect conditions to perform. They don't say, well, nobody's paying me for this, so I'll just give half effort. No. They show up fully, whether there's a crowd or complete silence. Whether in a boardroom, a back room, or building from their bedroom, their standard doesn't shift. Excellence is not a performance, it's a habit. Excuses are the enemy of greatness. They sound logical, even sympathetic. They give you temporary relief and long-term regret. Excuses will tell you you're too tired. It's not your fault. Nobody else is doing it either. But every time you let excuses speak louder than your purpose, you lower your standard, you drift from who you're called to be, and eventually you become a watered-down version of yourself, wondering why doors aren't opening, not realizing it's because you stopped knocking with excellence. There's a difference between people who have dreams and people who build them. And that difference is found in discipline, consistency, and execution, all of which are rooted in excellence. When you choose excellence, you stop blaming circumstances and start owning outcomes. You take responsibility even when others don't. You learn, improve, adapt. You don't say, that's not my job. You say, how can I bring value? And the world rewards people who bring value. A great example of this mindset comes from a woman named Tasha. Tasha worked at a small local print shop. It wasn't her dream job, not even close. The hours were long, the pay was minimal, and customers often overlooked her. But Tasha made a decision. If I'm here, I'm going to be excellent. She memorized clients' names, anticipated their needs, cleaned the store, even when it wasn't her responsibility, and made sure every order left with top-notch quality. Her coworkers would often ask her why she cared so much when nobody seemed to notice. But someone was noticing. One of their regular clients was a marketing executive from a fast-growing design agency. Over time, he watched how Tasha handled pressure, how she treated people, how she carried herself. One day, he offered her an interview. Within a month, Tasha was working as an executive assistant. Within a year, she was managing her own department. Today, she runs a team of creatives at that same agency, not because she had the perfect connections or the fanciest degree, but because she chose excellence over excuses. Every single day, what changed her life wasn't a stroke of luck. It was a lifestyle. She didn't rise to the level of her dreams. She fell to the level of her discipline. And because her discipline was rooted in excellence, she rose anyway. This mindset applies to every area of life, your relationships, your finances, your health, your purpose. When you operate in excellence, you don't tolerate sloppy effort. You don't say good enough when you know it isn't. You don't wait for someone to push you, you push yourself. You look for ways to go the extra mile, not for applause, but because that's who you are. Excellence becomes your identity, not something you do, but something you are. That kind of person becomes magnetic. People want to hire them, invest in them, collaborate with them. Not because they're perfect, but because they're consistent, reliable, intentional. And in a world full of shortcuts, that kind of excellence stands out. So say it again. I operate in excellence, not excuses. Say it when you're tired. Say it when nobody's watching. Say it when you feel like slacking. Let that statement be your compass. Let it guide how you write that email, how you show up to work, how you handle conflict, how you speak to others, how you manage your time. Make it personal. Because when excellence becomes your lifestyle, success becomes predictable. Excuses will always be available. Excellence must be chosen. And every day you make that choice, you separate yourself from the crowd. You build trust, you gain confidence, you attract favor, and most of all, you become the kind of person whose standards make room for their future. Excellence isn't a talent, it's a decision. And when you make it consistently, doors open, dreams unfold, and greatness begins to follow you. I am a magnet for favor and open doors. This statement is not wishful thinking, it is alignment. When you speak these words, you are stepping into the belief that unseen things are working in your favor. You're not begging for opportunities, you're expecting them. You're not chasing people, you're attracting purpose. And the key word here is magnet. A magnet doesn't try, it draws, it pulls in. And that's what happens when you operate from faith, confidence, and preparation. Doors begin to swing open, often without force. Favor isn't random, it finds the prepared. Favor is not about luck, it's about positioning. When you believe you are a magnet for favor, you begin to move differently. You carry yourself with quiet authority. You stop begging to be seen and start building yourself in silence. And soon what you've been preparing for behind the scenes meets the opportunity you didn't even know was watching you. Favor is divine, but it partners with faith. Faith to keep showing up. Faith to be excellent when nobody claps. Faith to keep preparing when there's no platform yet. Favor works with faith, not fear, not complaining, not waiting idly. It responds to belief. Doors represent access, opportunity, elevation, but doors also test your readiness. Many people pray for open doors, but aren't preparing for what's on the other side. So when the door opens, they can't handle the weight. They fold under pressure. They ask for exposure, but haven't mastered their craft. They want influence, but haven't grown their character. Being a magnet for open doors isn't just about getting a yes, it's about becoming the kind of person who can thrive in the rooms they once dreamed of entering. The room doesn't make you ready. You must already be ready before you walk through it. When you start believing that favor is drawn to you, you stop living in desperation. Desperation repels opportunities because it smells like lack. Confidence, however, draws people in. Not arrogance, but assurance. You know who you are, so you don't need to force anything. You're not competing. You're not begging for a seat, because you know the table is already being set. You show up with calm energy, with trust, with preparedness. And that's where favor flows, in a spirit of expectation, not anxiety. There's a man named Andre who embodies his principle perfectly. Andre was an entry-level tech worker in a huge company. Brilliant, but unknown. He wasn't in the spotlight. He didn't have the title. But Andre had something else. He believed favor was looking for him, so while others did the minimum, Andre did the extra. Not for attention, but for mastery. He read industry news on his breaks. He asked questions. He took online courses at night. He looked at every task as a chance to prepare for a promotion that hadn't even been posted yet. He believed the door would open, so he stayed ready. One day, a senior executive happened to sit in on a team meeting. Andre didn't know she would be there, but that day he presented a new idea he had been refining for weeks, something nobody asked for, something outside his role. The executive was impressed. 2 weeks later, she called Andre into her office and offered him a role on her strategy team, skipping 2 promotion levels. That meeting was the open door. But it wasn't luck, it was alignment. Favor found Andre because he was already moving in faith, already acting like he belonged in that room, already thinking and preparing like a leader. And when favor found him, he didn't have to chase it. It recognized him. When you believe you're a magnet for favor and open doors, you don't panic in the waiting season. You understand delay is not denial, it's development. You let God work behind the scenes. You do your part and trust that timing will do the rest. You focus on becoming, not begging. And you know that when the right door opens, you'll have both the character and the capability to walk through it with confidence. This belief changes your language. You stop saying, nothing ever works out for me. Instead, you say, everything is aligning in my favor. You stop saying, I never get a break. Instead, you say, I'm being positioned for something greater. Words shape your reality. When your mouth and your mindset align, your energy shifts. And when your energy shifts, your path begins to attract the things that are in agreement with your belief. Favor doesn't always come with applause. Sometimes it shows up as a quiet opportunity that others overlook. Sometimes it's a conversation, a connection, a delayed yes that turns into the right door at the right time. But when you declare, I am a magnet for favor and open doors, you train your eyes to see those moments. You become sensitive to opportunities that others miss. You start trusting the process and stop forcing the outcome. So stand tall, speak it daily, walk like it's already on the way, work like the call is coming, prepare like the door will open tomorrow. Because when favor finds you, and it will, you won't be surprised. You'll be ready. Not because of luck, but because you already saw it in your spirit, already believed it in your heart, and already walked like it belonged to you. That is the power of this mindset. That is the path of favor. That is the posture that opens doors. Now listen, speaking these words isn't magic. It's not a trick. It's truth. And when you believe the truth and speak the truth, you begin to live the truth. So speak these words to yourself daily, not just when you feel powerful, but especially when you feel powerless. Speak them until they shape your thinking. Speak them until they shift your results. Speak them until they become your reality. And watch not just what happens around you, but what starts happening within you. Your next level is not waiting for the world to change. It's waiting for you to speak. I'm not just living, I'm building legacy. That statement is a powerful shift in identity. It means you've decided your life is not going to be a random sequence of events. It's not going to be about just making it through the day, just surviving, just doing enough to get by. It's about doing something that echoes beyond your lifetime. Legacy thinkers live differently. They work with purpose. They move with strategy. And they make choices not just for their present, but for the future they're creating, a future that includes people they may never even meet. Most people live for comfort. They make decisions based on what feels good right now, what's easiest, what's safe, what's familiar. But when you're building a legacy, comfort can't be your compass. Calling must be. Comfort says, stay here. Calling says, go further. Comfort says, this is enough. Calling says, you were made for more. Legacy is not about doing what's convenient. It's about doing what's necessary, even when it's hard. Even when it costs you sleep, popularity, or ease. Because legacy is long-term. It's bigger than you. It's about leaving something that outlives you. When you think in terms of legacy, your standards rise. You start asking different questions. Not what can I get away with, but what am I passing on? You stop looking at time as something to waste and start seeing it as an investment. You understand that your habits today are the seeds of your impact tomorrow. That your character, your values, your work ethic, all of it becomes the blueprint for someone else's foundation. Whether you have children or not, someone is watching you. Someone is learning from you. Someone is going to be impacted by your choices. Legacy is built in the small things. It's how you treat people when nobody's watching. It's how you show up when you feel tired. It's in the integrity you protect, the excellence you deliver, and the vision you keep even when progress is slow. You don't build legacy in a day, but you build it every day through consistent decisions that align with who you want to become and what you want to leave behind. A powerful example of this mindset is the story of a man named Isaiah. Isaiah grew up in a broken household, absent father, struggling mother, very little guidance. By the time he was a teenager, he had already made some bad decisions and was on the edge of repeating the same cycle he was raised in. But one day, sitting alone after a near arrest, he had a moment of clarity. He said to himself, "This ends with me. I may not have inherited a legacy, but I will build one." Isaiah got serious about his future. He started waking up early, reading books, learning about financial literacy, and seeking mentors. He took an entry-level job and worked like he was the CEO. Every paycheck, he put aside money not just for himself, but to invest in his education, in a side business, in future assets. Over the years, he built a small real estate portfolio, started mentoring youth in his neighborhood, and launched a nonprofit to teach life skills to at-risk boys. Today, Isaiah is a community leader. He owns multiple properties, has a loving family, and has created scholarships for students coming from backgrounds like his. But the greatest reward? His own son now walks with the confidence of someone who expects greatness because he saw his father build it. Isaiah's story is proof that legacy doesn't require a perfect past. It requires a powerful decision. One decision to stop just living for yourself and start building for others. You may not come from legacy, but legacy can start with you, and it begins the moment you decide your life is going to mean something more than just survival, more than just status, more than just stuff. This is why it's so important to say it. I'm not just living, I'm building legacies. Say it when you're tired, when the sacrifices feel too heavy, when the rewards seem too far off. Say it when your friends don't understand why you're working late, why you're turning down distractions, why you're staying focused. You're not building for applause, you're building for impact. You're not living just to retire, you're living to remembered for something greater than a paycheck. When legacy becomes your standard, your energy changes. You stop chasing trends and start planning truth. You stop living reactive and start living intentional. You begin to understand that wealth is more than money, it's mindset, values, spiritual inheritance, and impact. You start thinking generationally, understanding that your ceiling can be someone else's floor. So speak it, embrace it. Let it guide your decisions. I'm not just living, I'm building legacy. Let it shape how you work, how you lead, how you love, how you live. Because a legacy isn't left by accident. It's built on purpose, with purpose, for a purpose. And when your life becomes a foundation for others to stand on, that's when you know you didn't just pass through the world, you changed it.